Welcome back to Tink's Garage, and yeah, we're still forking about. This time around we are shortening forks. Stay tuned. Yes, we've had a look at swapping out forks and fork conversions. If you didn't catch that and you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description. But an alternative, when you're building a cafe racer, to kind of adjust the stance of it all, bring the front end down a bit, level out the bike a little bit more, is to actually shorten the front forks. And it's actually not that complicated once you get your head around it. If at any time during the video you think it's any good or mildly entertaining even, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe down here somewhere. Right, let's get on with it. This particular fork shortening was done on a 1982 Honda CB750, so there's a few things that are specific to that, but otherwise the theory is the same. So thanks to the amazingly helpful people on the Facebook group Amateur Cafe Racer Builders, great group of guys, loads of knowledge out there, loads of people that have done things and know what they're talking about. Apparently these were potentially factory and potentially an upgrade that was very popular in the 70s with air. Yes, air shocks, or at least air in the top to dampen things or whatever. Anyway, short answer is unscrew this boy, release the air, undo one of these, and then these you can just get an open-ended spanner on that big side there, and they come off as per usual. And then you find a spring inside and other bits and pieces, I guess. So we'll probably do that. Sure enough, we have an air valve. Yeah. Stage 1. Stage 2, joining pipe disconnected, 14mm. Stage 3, 17mm. Nice and easy. Lovely jubbly. Okay. That answers that then. You missed that bit, but the spring pushed the nut off. I was expecting to find some kind of air device in there, not least of all a kind of spacer, and there isn't one. So that's, I don't know, is it alarming or just not as anticipated? Of course, I can't get the bastard back on now, but anyway, what I noticed just by leaning on it is that, ooh, that happens quite easily. I'm sure, I mean, most of the people that do fork shortening don't chop an awful lot off the springs. They usually chop like 2 inches or something. But obviously you saw that travel, right? That's quite a lot of travel. And there's still plenty to go if you really lean on it, right? So I'm wondering, in my usual way, whether I just chop like 4 inches off the spring and call it a day. Yeah. Well, I've always got another pair over there if I need them, and they've probably got the same springs in them or shorter versions. Oh, whoa, that's an idea, isn't it? I wonder, why don't we just pull this one out, pull one of those out, and see. Yeah, that might work before we chop anything, because chopping is always irreversible. Here we go, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, old 78 CB750 forks in the vise, not enough to stop that spinning, so mole grips just to help that, and this boy now loosened with a all I had was a 15/16. Yeah, I know what that is in metric. It's not a 22, it's not a 27, it's somewhere in between, probably a 25. Actually it probably is, isn't it? Thinking of fractions. Anyway, so this is probably, oh yeah, this is probably going to pop out. There you go. Not with the same velocity that the newer version did, so that's kind of good. So here's the spring on the old version. Noticeably kind of consistent spring, whereas most springs are more tightly wound at the top, or either end probably. I haven't got the whole thing out. Actually, I have got the whole thing out. No, just the top. Well, yeah. Okay, here we have it. Old spring, chopstick, new spring. I mean, yeah, this is off the 78, this is off the 82, and ooh, a lot shorter. Could it be that simple? That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I don't know, let's try it. I'm dubious about dropping the old spring down the tube just in case I can't get it out again. I'm sure I can with a coat hanger or something, right? Yay! Old spring going in. Oops. Disappeared down there somewhere. It's alright, I can get it out with this, which came with something. I can't remember what. Suspension or something. Anyway, the point is that disappeared down, which would be the same as chopping the current spring. And if we do the same on the other side and then just push everything down and put the nut on top, is that going to work? Shall we give it a go? I was never any good at physics at school, as you're about to find out, probably. So the bad news is that these nuts off the old CB750, that one over there, yeah, don't fit. So temporarily we're going to have to use these crazy fittings until we come up with something better. Which obviously they have they have leakage here. So they're going to just piss fluid everywhere when. Anyway, again, one of the guys on the forum was very helpful about Cafe Moto or whatever the hell. They do a lot of fault conversion stuff, very expensive. And he's like, oh yeah, they got some top nuts for a CB750. They're like, you know, they're very reasonably priced at $60 for a nut. Are you kidding me? So yeah, a standard bolt nut, whatever that is on the top there, is about $30, about half the price. All right, let's do the other side. There you go, I told you it was quite spectacular. No eyes were harmed in the filming of this video. So that's those springs swapped over, and the question is, has it made a difference? I don't honestly know, except that it fell off the centre stand, which was a little bit dramatic, and now the rear wheel on the centre stand is a bloody mile off the ground, as you can see. So I think the answer is yes. I've been watching a few more videos and having a look at the manual here on the front forks, and I think I know what I need to do. Because we effectively lopped off 3 inches off the top of the spring, 3, maybe 4 even, with those shorter springs from the 78 CB750, we need to add a spacer in the bottom to effectively take up that slack, but move this up that. Is that clear? Let's say we're going to move the piston up the shaft. How about that? Does that work? So we're going to start one side at a time. Loosened off the bolt here, and then the other one down here. So hopefully that should just pull out now. Yeah, needs a little bit of persuasion. Yeah, we all know what that means. Yes, a little tap with Thor. One extra thing with these silly air things on this side particularly, we have to take this off first, obviously, because that ain't going to slide through the forks there, is it? No, the yoke even. Not such a problem on the other side. We are going to replace these. I think I've found some. They're not cheap, but then nor are these, so we'll throw these on eBay. Now the other thing, at least as I understand it, is that this whole air ride thing provides kind of some of the preload on the shocks. So if we're going to replace that with just a standard cap, and we've shortened it 3 inches at least, then our spacer might need to be, oh hello, there's a chopstick, our spacer might need to be another inch to give it a bit more preload. That's what I'm kind of understanding about. So we're going to start with 4 inches because it was at least a 3 inch shorter than the original spring, which we can check when we get it out again, I guess. What we should also probably do while we got it all apart, because everyone else does, is put some new oil in there, because that's probably not been replaced. So yeah, we'll do that. Yes, probably shouldn't have laid it down on the bench even temporarily. So actually that oil looks pretty good. Maybe he renewed it. Yeah. Yes, so we need to get some fork oil. And actually there was fork oil in there, to be honest, which might have been a problem, might have explained the boinginess, might not, I don't know. We'll see how much we should put in there according to the manual, and adjust accordingly when we put it all back together again. So at the other end of the operation there's a 6mm Allen head, which I'm using this for because it's better than messing around with an Allen key. Right, well the manual tells you to put all this in a vise, soft jaws, to undo this, but as long as it's not too tight and you've got a little bit of muscle, just put your hand on that, push that into the bench. You've got a flat surface there, so it's not going to roll, and then that came undone quite nicely. And there's the Allen bolt out, and as far as I'm aware I now tip this up that way and everything else falls out the bottom. That's the idea. Hope you're watching carefully. Yeah, there you go. That'll be your piston. And this is where we're going to put that 4-inch spacer. Here. So what we've got to find is a bit of metal that's 4 inches long and fits around this, but not around that, right? And I just happen to have some that's absolutely perfect. I actually use this for just gaining a bit of leverage on handles and things. I can't remember what I bought it for, and I think I've got some more kicking around because that's not going to do both ends. Well, it might at a pinch. Anyway, that is absolutely perfect, right? So it slots over and it just sits there. How amazing is that? Cool. Yep, I knew I had some more of it kicking around. So there we go. That's lovely, isn't it? Because that's no delay, because I've actually got stuff, which is kind of what happens as you do more and more of this. Yes, more and more of this. All that. Yeah, as you do, you kind of build up your own stock of bits and pieces and useful parts and bolts and things, including saving the good stuff off bits that you take off, and then trying to keep it organised. Anyway, I digress. Let's cut these mothers. I'm just going to cut the one for now, this one. And the beauty of this being aluminium is that I didn't require the old angle grinder. I just used the hacksaw. Good old granddad's hacksaw, still the sharpest, and no effort required really. And there it is, just finished it up on the whirligig. Make it nice and smooth, rat tail file on the inside, and I'm not sure whether it should go spacer spring or spring spacer. I can't see it's going to make much difference, honestly. So now we're just going to drop it back in there, like so. Wiggle it around a bit, and it should fall out the bottom. I'm going to have to do this two-handed. With this particular model, it's a little bit more tricky because we've got this kind of shroud all around the end of it. So normally that would just kind of pop out the bottom. Anyway, I have reinstalled the M6 Allen nut bolt even, and I used the spring itself to just keep everything down that end while I was tightening it up, and it's kind of tight. So that's now fully extended with that spacer in there. So what I'm going to do is get the other side off and just compare the two, just to make sure all this is going the way it should do. And then we'll just do the other side and put them back on again. And order some fork oil, because we currently have fork oil. It's still funny the second time around, isn't it? Or is it the third time now? Oh, I forget. Well, folks, here it is. Yes, indeedy. 4 inches shorter. Sweet. So there's that one back in place, and yeah, maybe that's a little too short. I don't know. We can always take a little bit off the spacer at least, right? We've left ourselves some tolerance, some room to play with. And actually, while I've got these apart, I need to measure the internal, I'm pretty sure it was 31 by 1.5 pitch, hopefully, for the end caps, which I think I have sourced from Dime Motorcycles in Dodge City. I don't know. Anyway, those end caps run at about, I don't know, 35-40 bucks. These run about 75 to 90 something, and that little piece there, brand new, 250 bucks. Yeah, this bit. Yeah. So that's in good condition. That's 150 bucks sitting right there. So before I put this one back on, because I've shortened it now, yeah, the preload is quite a lot there. To get that spring down and the cap in place is going to require quite a lot of muscle. I don't want to shorten the spring anymore because I haven't actually cut this spring, and it's kind of nice that I haven't. So I think what I'm going to do is take an inch off that spacer, and that will give me just enough. And that, I mean, the preload on that is going to be half an inch. It's probably sufficient, honestly. Yeah, I think 4 inches was a little bit OTT. I mean, most people only shorten them by like 2 inches, so yes, by Jove, I think we've overdone it. Perfect. Yeah, shaved an inch off, fully extended just inside there, so with a little bit of persuasion and pressure on the spring, we can get our new cap on there. Remembering to fill it full of oil first, and we'll have a little bit of preload. Do remind me to put the oil in, that's the kind of thing I forget. So all in all, quite a simple job, honestly. It appears to be daunting, but it's really very easy. Messy, so I'll get yourself some rags before you start, because there's oil everywhere. Popping the springs temporarily into a dustbin liner was very effective. Not. So yeah, all in all, quite oily and messy, so be prepared for some cleanup. Not on a BP scale, but you know what I mean. Just to recap, I happen to have some springs from a 1978 CB750, as opposed to this bike. This fork is off a 1982, and the 1978 springs are about 3 inches shorter than the 1982 springs, so I didn't have to cut the spring. But the spacer that we ended up putting in was 3 inches, and that's down here now, inside. Has to equate to what you chop off the spring. So effectively we chopped off 3 inches, we put a 3-inch spacer down the bottom end, and it's a job done. So it really is very simple. I just happened to have some springs that were pre-cut, if you like. Lovely. So let's measure these just to double check before we order the standard end caps, and then we can get this all bolted up. So now all that's left to do is get those caps on order. 31mm, 1.5 pitch, and some fluid. Yes, some of that. 172 cc's of Dextron ATF SAE 10W fork oil. I might add some of that kicking around. Anyway, so I would say that's a job well done, and I think I said already, far less daunting than it should be. So don't be afraid to lower your forks. It's only slightly more complicated than dropping your pants, depending on how complicated your pants are. As always, for tuning in, and do tune in again next time. See progress. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe down here somewhere, and of course encourage others to watch my lunacy.